Hi, guys. Welcome to Real Food Recovery. We have a special guest here that I think you're really going to enjoy, and that is Kailey. And she is the creator behind Joy Makers Project. While Kailey isn't coming from the recovery world, her mission deeply aligns with something we believe is crucial in healing, and that is the return of joy. Because let's be honest, when we're healing from years of numbness, restriction, or emotional eating, joy often feels like the last thing on the list. Kaylee's work is all about helping people rediscover delight, creativity, and lightness in their daily lives. So today we're going to explore a little more about what joy really is. Why do we lose it? And how can we gently welcome it back, even in the middle of a healing journey from the effects of ultra processed food? So, I'm going to tell a little bit more about Kailey. She spends her life and built her own organization surrounding the concept of spreading joy to people, one action at a time, whether that may be empowering others to spread joy through random acts of kindness throughout communities, or training individuals and teams on building more joy amongst themselves and others. She is committed to making a transformative impact on this world, which I love. Kaylee holds a master's degree in clinical social work, licensed as a clinical mental health therapist. She's currently based in Holland, Michigan, and Kaylee also currently facilitates group training online and in person for teams seeking to develop brain and rational skills guaranteed to increase individuals' capacities for greater joy within themselves and existing relationships. So, welcome, 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 Kaylee. We are so excited to have you and talk about the concept of joy. So let's start out with a question about joy specifically, because as we know, people have different concepts of different things. We all come from different places, different backgrounds, different experiences in our life, which influence our thought patterns. So if it's okay, I'd like to kind of quiz you a little bit about what joy actually means to you, not like this fleeting emotion, but this practice or a way of life. I'm really curious to hear what you have to say about that. So, hello and welcome. And if there's anything else that I missed about introducing you, please feel free to share more. But talking about what joy means to you maybe is a good place to start.
Paige, thank you so much. That was such a sweet introduction, and I'm really honored to be here today. This is one of my favorite things is just getting to share about what I'm passionate about
Right.
and in the hopes that it brings that to others and that like literally that it spreads joy to others too.
Right. Right.
Thank you. And asking the question about what is joy, like the concept of it, you're so right. There's so much to it. And for a long time, I thought that it was just almost like this feeling that you had and
Right.
almost like euphoria. There's something about it. But
Mm-hmm.
a few years ago, I met someone named Chris Corsi, and he gave me a definition that changed my life forever. And he said something along the lines of joy is the knowing or the sense that someone is glad to be with you.
Oh,
The
I
sparkle.
love that.
Yeah, I know, me too. It's like the sparkle in someone's eyes when you're looking at them and you can see the connection happening, but it's that sense, that feeling that someone or something is really glad to be with me right now. And that's what I would say joy is. And I would love to dive into more of that with you, Paige, because there's so
Yeah.
much to
I'm like on the edge of my seat with that because
it.
I'm busy making a list of who would be happy to see me.
Yeah.
Who lights up when I walk in the room? Hmm.
Exactly. That's what you want. Actually, once you know, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
You actually, like even when we joined on today, I could see the joy in your eyes.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I was very happy to see you. And I will say that my grandchildren light up when they see me and run to me, and wrap their arms around me. That I know they're feeling joy, but actually I'm the one that feels so much joy to see the spark in their eye. I
Well,
love
and the thing
that.
about it is the sparkle in people's eyes is contagious. And so you can actually experience joy through someone having a sparkle in their eye, glad
Yeah,
to see you. But then that also bounces and reflects right back to the other person because it's contagious.
I agree with that.
It's like something in your brain turns on and lights up when there's this knowing that there's a relational connection happening right now, and it's a positive one. This person's glad to see me because the brain wants to feel safe. The brain wants to feel seen, it wants to
Yep.
feel taken care of, and so we can really share that joy through even just our facial expressions and showing up.
Oh, I agree. You hit on those core human needs of being
Yep.
seen, heard, and understood. So that's hitting that. And don't you think the opposite is true with like negativity? That
Mhm.
that's contagious as well. You can bring a glum face into a room and take the whole room down in one fell swoop.
Truly, yeah, in one fell swoop. You're so right. And that might be an indicator of that person's joy levels are lower. And they need
Hmm.
some shoring up, or there's another term called relational circuits, and maybe that person's relational circuit has turned off. And that can be a little contagious too. If we're not
Yeah.
skilled or practicing growing our joy, it can be
Hmm.
to fall into non-relational mode, which would also be non-joy mode with others. And
Hmm.
so the concept of joy I'm talking about today is so much relational joy, um,
Yeah,
in kind of how we interact with each other or even God.
I agree. And they also say you're the most like the five people closest to you, so choose wisely.
Yes.
I think that makes a huge influence on just your overall outlook on
Yeah.
life, who you're spending the most time with. And don't you think people naturally gravitate to those people that bring joy into
Mhm.
their life?
Absolutely,
Yeah,
because it's in our design. Like our brains are designed to run off of joy. Our brains are designed to have home base be joy. And so if your brain recognizes that in another person, it's going to be drawn to that person too.
I love that. I'm writing that. Your brains are designed to run off joy.
Yep.
I
Often
believe
glad to
that.
share joy. Hmm.
Yeah, because we weren't created to be miserable.
No, 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 we weren't. We
Yeah,
absolutely weren't. And you can see when you have joy is like the secret ingredient that we need to thrive in this world. Like
I
the
know.
sense of the relational, glad to be together joy gives strength to communities. It helps people heal. It
Yeah.
allows there's relational, glad to be together joy. There's an ability for people to grow their capacities and to even heal from trauma
Hmm.
and to
Yeah,
mature, because we're meant to grow through joy bonds, not fear bonds. And so there's a
I,
whole lot there. But if you even think about parenting, some of the kids who grow up with parents that are glad to be with them, there's self-confidence, there's self-esteem, there's growth. And then if you grow up in environments where parents aren't glad to be with you, there's a trajectory that usually happens there, and that can have lower self-esteem, insecurity, and we're not thriving in the way we're made to.
hmm.
Of course, that's I'm generalizing there, but you can see patterns, and even
Yeah,
where's the joy in the family environment if it's
yeah.
there, and there's
Hmm.
that relational connectedness there.
Yeah.
There's a lot more likelihood that the children are going to be able to develop a bit healthier than the children that perhaps are raised in environments that don't have as much joy.
I agree with that. And I see that so much with my kids. They did a better job than me. I can see each generation getting better
Sure,
with that versus when my parents grew up, it's the children are to be seen and not heard. And I
sure.
was a super hyperactive kid, so I'm sure I got on my parents' nerves. So they weren't always happy to see me bouncing through the
Sure.
room. So I can see though how my kids are much more patient and loving and just provide this environment for growth for my grandkids. And I can see that they are very well rounded and leading happy little lives.
Mhm.
So interesting. I love that conversation so much. So that brings me back to Where in the world did you come up with this idea to create this Joy Makers project? What was stirring in you at that time? I'm just so fascinated. I cannot wait to hear what you have to say about how did this girl in Michigan come up with this idea to start a whole new I know I'm just going to create a project about joy.
Sure, sure. I know it is so wild, truly. But let me tell you, I about in 2018, I went on this volunteer missions trip around the world for 11 months. And during those 11 months, we went over to 14 different countries. It was 14 or
Wow.
15 different countries. And in each country I went to, I would pray and I would ask God, what does this place need? What do these people need? In every country I went to, I felt like the impression that would come was these people need more joy. They need more joy. Everywhere I went, Paige, there was just it was like the need for joy. And I was like, well, what does joy even mean? But I knew it had something to do with people and us connecting. And like there
Mm-hmm.
was like I guess it was the sparkle in people's eyes that would come. And it was like
Mm-hmm.
these impacts. Like we have no idea what doing things to share acts of kindness, to share with someone that they're loved, seeing valued and how it can change their lives or change the
Yeah.
trajectory of their lives. And I would just my goal when I was traveling was to shine that kind of light wherever I went, and I would just hear stories from people, and they
Mm.
would say things and it just kept coming back like joy, joy, joy. And so when I got back from this 11-month volunteers missions trip, I was back in Michigan. I was like, I have to do something about this. I don't even know what, but I'm just gonna pray. I'm gonna ask for the name. And so I got the name that was kept coming was Joy. And I was like, this is a project. Like this is gonna be an evolving thing the rest of my life. And so then Joy Makers Project eventually came and I started talking to some mentors and the connections just kept happening and people would give me ideas. And so the foundation of Joy Makers Project really was from that 11-month mission trip that gave me some vision for this is a need, not just in America, but around the world. And then also um, that in a Michigan where I could start was I'm just going to go start doing random acts of kindness and see what happens.
Wow.
And then stories after stories page kept coming when I would go out and do these random acts of kindness and it became contagious. And so I really didn't know what I was doing fully at the beginning. I was just like, I just know I've started something Joy Makers Project, and I would
Yeah.
just take the opportunities that came. And it was pretty clear that people wanted to follow that, be part of it. And then it was clear that people's lives were being impacted by these random acts of kindness. But I will say too that eventually, like a few years down the road after starting Joy Makers Project, I met again a good friend and mentor of mine now, Chris Corsi, who runs Thrive Today organization, and he helped me understand the intersection of joy in brain science and theology and how it all comes together and how important it is for human development and flourishing in relationships.
Yeah.
And so then that's when Joy Makers took on a whole nother, um, I would say like layer or level. It became more complex in that area, combining with me
Mm-hmm.
getting a master's in social work and
Mm-hmm.
becoming a therapist. It really kind of went from just random acts of kindness to now this isn't just random acts of kindness. I'm going to help what's on my heart is I'm going to help coach people on how to heal and how to develop into the most joy-filled person they're made to be.
You said the word connection a couple of times. And so, what we do at Real Food Recovery is we help people recover from the effects of ultra processed food. Some people call it food addiction, some
Yeah.
people call it food obsession, whatever. How we help people heal is always the same, regardless if you want to call it addiction or use disorder. But one of the things that we talk about is how connection is the opposite of addiction.
Yep.
And I heard you bring that up as far as joy. And so it just, when you're connected, you have these beautiful oxytocin, some gentle dopamine, some endorphins going on. And so you're not trying to substitute substances to numb out any of these pains that are so painful. And
Right.
again, you're covering those basic human needs of feeling seen, heard, and understood. So it really is. I was just interested to hear you talk about how connection invites such joy in people's life, regardless of what they're dealing with, regardless of the circumstances. And it sounds like you've had a lot of experiences with a lot of people. Are there anything that has surprised you, what you've learned about people through this process of helping them access more joy?
Yeah, that's such a good question, Paige. Thanks for asking that. Yeah, there's been so many things that have surprised me. I mean, just the reality that joy is a simple yet such profound concept and need. Like when people are like, "Really, you're spreading joy?" And it's like, "Yeah."
For a
You know?
living?
Right, yeah, it's like, yeah, but this is actually really profound, and so
Yeah,
what surprised me is the more I learn about the brain and the design of the brain, the more I realize how necessary having greater joy in one's life is for them to truly
hmm,
flourish, and
yeah,
I will even use like some friendships that I've had where they don't have that maybe a person doesn't have any friends or maybe only has one, but then we start spending more time together and they
hmm,
getting around more glad to be togetherness. And then you just watch this person's capacity grow and what they're able to
hmm,
endure, what they're able to withstand, and even the way they see themselves.
yeah,
It's like joy is energizing for
yeah,
people. Um,
totally.
so in when it comes to addiction and recovery, a lot of times I'm still learning all of this, but I've noticed that with addiction and recovery stuff, sometimes it's we're trying to fill the voids of where we're not experiencing joy or where we have
Right.
attachment pain, the
Hmm.
loss of something that you love or you wish you could be close to. And so even being someone of joy, you can actually really help people heal just by being a presence of I'm glad to be with you in your pain. Like,
I love that. It's like yoking yourself to someone else where it divides the weight
yeah,
and just knowing that there's someone else there. That makes me think of I just got back from an overseas trip and
yeah,
we had planes canceled. And
yeah,
so that is a domino effect for all your connections, which when you're
right.
coming from out of the country, it literally is a domino effect. And so, in the middle of the chaos of rerouting everyone, I got separated from this group of people that I was traveling with, and I was on my own, which is my biggest fear, like
Mhm.
trying to navigate these big foreign airports that
Sure.
I'm not familiar with. And I thought about this a few times about how just having, even if I just had one person out of our group, I think we had 13 people, it would have made me feel so much more safe and secure, even though they might not know any better than I did. It was that connectedness of I'm not in this alone. I'm not having to figure out this alone. What do you think? Well, what do you think? That you just didn't feel just I think dark,
Yeah.
just alone. I guess the alone is
Alone.
the word.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, nobody wants to feel alone in this world,
Right.
especially when you're in trauma and in stress
Right.
like that. So,
Right.
and
Absolutely.
unfortunately, this world is filled with a lot of stress. And when you look around, you don't see a lot of people that are extraordinarily joyous. You see a lot of people struggling through life, which is kind of why our emphasis is on helping people get off the ultra processed food. And we focus on making sure you get enough sleep. Almost, it's like preloading the brain with a little bit of joyous dopamine, making sure you get enough sleep, making sure you're eating single ingredient foods, making sure you
Mhm.
have some type of spiritual practice, making sure you have some type of movement in your life. And so when you're working with people, I'm sure you have to go over some things that invite joy and help people understand here's what it takes to have a little bit of joy in your life. So, when you're working with people, what are some of the everyday practices that you help people understand that might spark a little more joy in their life, even if they're feeling a little grumpy and down
Yep.
that day? And what's so interesting is you're trying to help them with joy, and probably people that are struggling, the last thing they want to do is whatever recommendations you have,
Sure.
because it's hard
No.
to get motivated to do that when you're so far down.
Right, right. And I usually try to start with empathy and compassion in that of saying, listen, I know that this is like 100 times harder and more challenging to practice these skills, but this is what we have to do to climb up the ladder. And both are hard. It's hard to stay stuck. It's hard to grow. But which hard is going to get you where you want to be and get you
Mhm,
to the most the you walking in who you're truly made to be and who you're truly
mhm,
designed to be. Um,
mhm.
so some practices page that I always like to recommend. I'll generalize it and then I'll offer a few examples. I
Okay, good.
I really like to recommend we need to get more balance in your life. We need to get some rest, like true rest. We need to learn what true rest is, not just scrolling on social.
Totally.
That's not rest. It's not
What?
just
Scrolling is not rest? What?
yeah.
N
So
Don't turn us off, people. Don't keep listening.
It's like, what is true rest? What helps your brain rest? And then where are you playing in your life? Like where are you actually doing and utilizing time and activities that allow your brain to actually get creative or to enjoy the moments without it needing to be a performance or a
Mhm,
production? But to
mhm,
really enjoy the present. That's what I would say play is. And then the other one would be, yeah, just the holistic care, but then also practicing appreciation and gratitude. We need that
totally.
so much. And that sounds cliche, but it's not. It's actually the fuel that your brain needs to be healthy and to remove some of the toxic thoughts. We need to replace with healthier gratitude, appreciation memories, and then in training your brain, truly training your brain for joy. Um, the other thing that I would say is relational connection. We need to get you, if you don't know where you belong, we need to help you find belonging.
Mhm,
And we need to help get you at least a few people in your corner that you feel seen, safe, and heard and understood by. Because
mhm.
those are the people that are also going to help bridge some of the glad to be together joy in your life. And you need
Yeah,
that to be able to grow and recover from life's
yeah,
hardships.
yeah.
So I'd be happy to share a couple practices, like
Oh,
if
sure,
that's helpful at all.
sure, sure.
One rhythm that I have and I recommend to people in the mornings is when you wake up, I know it might sound silly, but tell yourself out loud, it's going to be a good day. You're setting your brain
Mm,
up to think and look for the good stuff. And then at the
mhm.
end of the night, thinking to yourself and reflecting, maybe it's a journal, maybe it's talking to someone before you go to bed, but saying, what were the things that went well? And not just the big things, but the
Mhm,
tiny little things like I had a really
mhm,
nice salad today. I was able to
mhm.
make it to work on time, even though I thought I was going to be late. And then like just stuff like
Yeah,
that. Because every time you practice gratitude or appreciation, you're again you're training your brain and you're growing new pathways in your brain that are going to become the new normal. But it takes time. The other thing that I make a practice of is when I think about people in my life that I appreciate, I don't hesitate to tell them that I appreciate them. So I'll send the person a text, I'll give them a call, or I'll write a note, make a little gift or something. And not only is that helping to build up that person's joy so that they can experience it, but it's helping me to train my brain for joy too. Because
yeah,
appreciation is a key ingredient
yeah.
to growing in that joy. And I've noticed crazy, amazing results in my own life of just my ability to endure through hard seasons just by remembering what I appreciate about people and what I'm grateful for every day.
Mhm.
And at this point, my brain just operates in that way no matter the season.
Yeah.
It just is on for joy.
I can't believe how many things that you are sharing that are so in line with literally how we help people
Really.
with recovery from the effects of ultra processed food. It is all brain training. It is
Wow.
all reframing thoughts. It is all gratitude.
Yep.
All of those things, we are literally, our emphasis is to rewire those neural pathways
Come on.
into, I can't to I can,
Yeah.
but reframing a dark cloud into a positive literally
Oh,
affects you down to the chemistry in your cells, the
mhm.
mitochondria inside your cells are affected by what's going on up here in the noggin.
Yep.
And your thinking is a direct reflection of what's going on, not just in the brain, but throughout your entire systemic system. And if you talk, this is starting to get off on a tangent, but we want to keep our cells non-inflamed,
Yep.
and our thought pattern makes a difference in inflammation within those cells down to a cellular level. Our thoughts make that big of a difference. And so you are literally speaking our language as far as brain training when it comes
Oh,
to
that's so
recovery.
amazing, Paige. Oh,
Hmm.
that is such good news to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got to have these positive, good vibes, juju going on if you want to hurdle, uh, face these hurdles,
Yeah.
whatever's in front of you. So, speaking of hurdles that come
Yeah.
in front of you, there are things that it seems like blocks people's joy
Mm,
that they can't quite seem to get past. Have you noticed any patterns in
mhm.
people's lives that are the biggest obstacles in overcoming this kind of dark dread and keeping them stuck, not being able to access joy in their life?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's heartbreaking. It really breaks my heart to see that. And some of the barriers that I notice are automatic negative thinking, where people are just so stuck
Hmm.
in a rut of pessimism and even just having
Hmm.
a hard time to even think about, I can't even think about one thing I'm grateful for. But if there's an
Hmm.
openness, even if it's a crack of openness to grow, we can get places because we can just start off with, well, what's in this room that you kind of like?
Hmm.
Like what are you wearing right now that maybe you're grateful for those socks? Like it's okay if they have a hole in them, just think
I've
even
got socks.
yeah, I
I've
got
nine toes that are covered.
exactly. It's like the starting so small. So
Yeah.
that's a barrier, or at least like I would say it can feel like a setback at first of just that. And also say when we're underdeveloped in our maturity, and so we
Hmm.
don't talk about this a lot as a culture, but there really are
Yeah.
skills and needs we have to develop into the next stage of maturity well. And so if we're an adult physically and we have adult-like responsibilities, but we are emotionally and relationally about at a 7-year-old's maturity level, that's going to be a barrier to experiencing true joy because you might be
Hmm.
feeling more overwhelmed with responsibilities than having the capacity to enjoy what's laid before you. So that's another thing. And then I would say loneliness and isolation is a
Yeah.
barrier because
That's
yeah,
tough.
yeah, we really need the belonging. We need the glad to be together joy with others. And so that is a huge need too, everywhere, not just in
Hmm.
the US, but across the span of like people are craving to actually be known. But to be known,
Yeah.
we really need to belong. And
Yeah.
we need to create communities that know how to help each other belong somewhere.
Hmm. You mentioned emotional immaturity and people like that are operating from a 7-year-old
Yeah.
level. Have you ever heard that people become emotionally stunted at whatever age some major trauma happened, that they don't
Yes.
develop more?
Yeah.
And so that's difficult when you're working with those types of people that you're in an adult environment, that you're working with other adults, and but they're operating at
Yeah.
this infantile emotional level, and it's very difficult to have.
Painful. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's almost painful to be around them and try and rationalize with them. As I said, I just was on this trip that was overseas, makes it a little more difficult. And it was interesting to see the reactions of some of the people just completely coming unglued,
Right.
angry, hostile, versus the others that jumped in. Okay, what are we going to do next? Let's
Yep.
go get in this line, or let's call this number. So it was interesting to see the major dichotomy
Yeah.
between how people handled that situation. And it was almost kind of a fun game to sit back and watch how these people are either unraveling or just gravitating towards solution. But
Sure.
once those people started unraveling, it was very difficult to ever reel them
Yeah.
back in. And you notice through the whole trip
Ah,
that there is some signals of their negativity that sadly just followed them and just seemed to be grumpy seemed to be their first go-to emotion.
yes. And that's part of the importance of joy and this glad to be togetherness, because with joy, that's the ingredient you need to mature. Like you need relationships that have joy with you, that are also more mature than you, to help you grow. Because
Mm-hmm.
our minds work, we emulate those around us. We want to learn from a
Mm-hmm.
bigger, more mature mind. And
Mm-hmm.
so that, I love the just what you're bringing up. It's like you're point blank period right there, Paige. You're just showing a really important example of
Yeah.
maybe some maturity gaps, and also the need of, like, this is why we need more joy,
Yeah.
so that we can operate in who we're made to be in all the situations.
Right. And you know how we were talking about the contagiousness of it. Let's
Yeah.
see. Do I want to go be with the grumpy guy
Right.
or do I want to go follow who's going to be my leader
Right.
in this? I'm like, I got to gravitate to the guy that's looking for decisions to get me out of this instead of just standing there complaining.
Right.
So that was interesting to put those points together. But also, you had talked about trauma a little bit. Do you feel when you're working with people with trauma, and we all have trauma, big T, little
Right.
t, but some level of trauma, do you feel like you have to address the trauma first before you
Mm.
can address the joy?
That's a really, really good question, Paige. So I was actually taught by a mentor of mine that it actually wisdom can actually be help build someone's capacity first, capacity for joy,
Mm-hmm.
because then they have more resilience and ability to work through the trauma rather than
Mm-hmm.
trying to pull the trauma up and force it to come up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's build
Mm-hmm.
joy. And as they build their capacity for joy, then we're creating a really healthy buffer and cushion to be able to process the trauma well. And
Mm-hmm.
so when it comes to clients, who are wanting to work through trauma, if they already know that they have the trauma, and they are ready to talk about it and they want to work through it, I'm like, yes, we absolutely can do that at your pace. While we do that, though, I'm going to ask that you work on building your capacity for joy too.
Yeah.
And these are the skills that I would recommend.
I love that because it makes me think about how we work with our clients too, because a lot of times, obviously, people that we work with have had trauma and they're using food to numb. And so
Yeah.
a lot of times we start with the four basics of single ingredient food or non-processed food, sleep, movement, spirituality. And I say, yes, we've got the trauma over here, but let's cover these core foundational things in our life. And then we can see what's left over, what's
Sure.
really there. But until we just cover just some of these core basic foundational needs, how can we even know what's trauma and what's just lack of sleep? I know
Right.
that sounds really simplistic, but it's huge.
So
It's
huge.
huge. So it doesn't always have to be extremely, extremely, extremely deep. Let's
Mhm.
just cover some surface level things to really uncover where we actually are
Right.
in our emotions, our physicality, our
Right.
mental status, all those things.
Yeah, that's so good, Paige. And we want to be careful about not re-traumatizing someone by
Yeah,
asking them to bring up all this trauma. And
right.
if they don't have the capacity to withstand it or manage
Hmm.
the big emotions that come up from that, then that can be
Hmm.
detrimental too.
Mhm.
So joy again is the buffer. It's the cushion, it's the safety net that we need to be able to manage our pain well and to heal.
Yeah. Do you believe that that's something, joy is something you can build more of, like a muscle, or does it require a certain environment to flourish? Or do you feel like people just come naturally wired with a preset joy level and you can reach that capacity and that's it? So you have a philosophy on any of that?
That's such a good question. I want to say yes to all of it. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say environment is hugely important. Again, my mentor one time gave me a picture of a garden and was showing me like, joy, like the life we're meant to live is like a garden, but you need to have the right environment for that garden to flourish, and you need to put work into it for it to flourish. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's like the environment is super important. Like, who are the glad to be together relationships in your life? We need that. Um, and you can see the influences when it's not there, it's not that it's impossible, but I think it can be much more difficult to grow in that glad to be together joy unless
Mm-hmm.
you're connecting to what I would believe like God to be. Because
Mm-hmm.
really we're never alone, actually, if we believe that. And so there's a way to connect to like a higher power in receiving joy and growing joy that way. But most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
we're most comfortable connecting with human to human interaction, at least for starters. And so
Yeah.
there's that. And then I would also say, um, what was your, well, I'm blanking out on what your,
I just wanted to know, can you build on it? I mean, do
yes.
you feel like we all have a baseline level and we can't move past there? Or do you think joy is something with somebody that kind of has a low level? Is there ability to raise that up?
So much ability to raise that up. And I think it's limitless. Like, I don't think there's an end to how much joy you can grow in. And I'll use my life as an example. I used to be someone that was plagued with anxiety and
Yeah.
depression symptoms. And
Mhm.
even though I had some measures of joy, I didn't know how to maintain it when I would experience big emotions or big events in my life that were
Mm-hmm.
big for me to handle, honestly.
Yeah.
And so then when I started practicing these skills and just got really consistent with it, growing in my appreciation and gratitude, growing and connecting with people, growing and connecting with God, growing in play and rest and really having that sense of belonging, I watched myself transform, like, and people around me saw that happening, and I went from the girl who didn't know how to manage her big negative emotions to the woman that is now coaching people on how to recover from their upsets and how to recover from depression, anxiety, and live their most joy-filled lives possible. And so it is possible, and I will say if it can happen for me, it can happen for anyone.
Yeah, I so believe that people that have like some type of a spiritual foundation, and we never push people about religion, that we're just saying some type of spiritual higher power, a place to go when life kicks you in the teeth versus substances, that when you have that practice, that you can experience joy and grief at the same time because life is going to kick you in the teeth. That's just a given, unfortunately. And so I don't know if you want to touch on that about how when we are really grieving for something, or like you mentioned, anxiety, burnout, just extreme stressful situations, about where does joy come in? Does it fit in there? Can it pull you out of there? Can they actually coexist at the same time?
Yeah, it absolutely can coexist, Paige. I think the goal of adult maturity, emotionally and relationally, would be even when I experience anger, disgust, sadness, hopeless despair, shame, um, I still am able to return to joy and peace.
I love that.
And you can experience both, but it's like in how you manage it. And so that takes work, it takes time, and I would actually probably say my guess would be most adults actually don't have that skill mastered yet. Even
Yeah.
though it's in our design to have that skill mastered by the time we're an
Mm-hmm.
adult, And but there's thankfully there's wonderful practices and skills you can achieve and attain to make that a reality for your life. And
Mm-hmm.
and some of us in the reality is it's like the way we grow up, like the skills that our parents pass on, are kind of what we enter into with adulthood too. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's adulthood is a really good time to evaluate and assess where am I strong in? What skills did my parents give me that or caregivers give me that were really good that I needed? And where are the gaps? Where are the skills that maybe they didn't have so they couldn't pass on to me that I might need to grow in? A lot of times it's emotions. And learning how to
Mm-hmm.
regulate them in a way that allows you to maintain joy and peace while still feeling some of those
Mm-hmm.
feelings too.
I love that. Have you ever, talking of that, about that with parents and influence and things like that, have you ever had anyone come to you like where the needle was pointed grumpy and they wanted to change? Have you ever seen someone transform that you've worked with where they, they just come out completely different people by the time
Oh
that
my
they were willing to lean into what you were saying and accept what you're saying and put it to the test and really practice it? You
yes.
have any stories you want to share?
Oh, yes, I would love to. I have there's so many stories that come to mind, Paige, but one of them is someone that came in with depression, pretty
Yeah.
severe depression. And it was even challenging to even name one thing that they were grateful for. And but we every week we kept at it, and even if it was just practicing in session, I would encourage them outside of it, but it was just a little too hard sometimes. And so we would do it in session. And now when they come in, they're the ones that are telling me what's going good in their life.
I
And
love that.
they're yep, go ahead.
I was just going to say, do you see like a spark in their eye now when they come in, like they're happy to connect with you and glad to
Oh
see
my goodness.
you?
Yes, it is and I have the sparkle in my eye too because there's
Mm-hmm.
so much joy and excitement in seeing this person grow.
That's
It
so
and
cool.
and I'm starting to hear of them starting to spread joy to others too.
Oh, that get
So,
I goosebumps.
yep,
Goosebumps.
it's so amazing, so cool.
That's the pay it forward.
Exactly, and in it's fulfilling. Like, they are
Mhm.
finding more purpose in their life just by having changed some of their mentalities and practicing gratitude and appreciation more, and the reality is if you were to spend 30 days, um, 5 minutes a day, 3 times a day, practicing gratitude and appreciation and just chewing on it like it's bubble gum for those 5 minutes, the reality is your whole entire brain wiring would change and you would be looking at life with what's going good rather than what's going wrong or what should I be afraid of.
That's totally so true. And so much of what we preach, especially because we want to help people create lives that they don't want to escape from. I want to help you find a life that you want to get up and do again tomorrow versus, oh, I hate I have to get up and live another day.
That's beautiful, Paige. I love that ambition you have for others.
Yeah, yeah. And don't you find on a personal level that doing this actually sparks more joy in your own life? I mean, for me, it makes me to want to be and even have a cleaner body, a healthier body, a relationship-filled life. It's
Yes.
motivation for me to help others.
Absolutely. No, it's contagious and truly I feel that as much as I love to help people, and help them see them flourish, see them thrive into who they're made to be. I think by being able to give back in this way, it's only helped me grow into a more fuller version of myself, too.
Yeah, right. Totally. Totally. It's a discovery phase for you.
Mhm.
One of the biggest questions that I want to ask you, and I want to be respectful of your time, is some of our listeners feel disconnected from their
Mhm.
bodies and overwhelmed by shame around food. So if you're trying to get off these ultra processed food, but you have a slip and have a binge, or you can call it a sidestep, then it creates shame that you couldn't stick with it when you're trying so hard, which is a conundrum in this arena we work with, especially because ultra processed foods are just surround you. I mean, you can't drive down the street without all the fast foods or the convenience stores, and it's just in your face everywhere you go. So,
Right.
what would you say to someone who feels like joy is literally out of reach for them right now? Or maybe I should say, what's the first step in feeling joy? We've talked about gratitude a lot. Does it always start there? Or how do you help people start on this path if they aren't someone who already is filled with joy? Where would they start so they don't feel overwhelmed, but maybe a spark of possibility in their life?
Sure, sure. Oh, my heart goes out to so many people in those
It's a
situations.
struggle. It's bad,
Yeah, and there's a story behind everyone's struggle too, and
right?
that's a valid story. The what I would say is, regardless of what circumstance it exactly is, the mindset of learning how to be tender with your weaknesses is crucial to being able to do anything else beyond that. And so there's the concept of toxic shame and healthy shame. And
Mm-hmm.
toxic shame would be like, I messed up, therefore I am a mess up. I failed, therefore I
Mm-hmm.
am a failure. Or healthy shame would be like, ooh, I overate or I ate beyond what I knew was well for me and healthy. And I'm not proud of that. And that is actually going to help me change in character and help me return to who I truly am. Because I'm someone who lives a balanced life, who grows in the self-control or discipline of the cravings. And
Oh, yeah.
just the mindset, I would say at first is like a foundational point. But then also when you're feeling shame, if you're in the moment, are you able to connect with someone that can be tender with your weakness too? And provide a sense of comfort, attunement, validation, and then also some hope of like, how can we do this together? Or how can I help support you moving forward? So connecting with someone is important. And then as far as like the practical joy practices, it's gonna be hard at first if your brain's not used to practicing appreciation and gratitude, but just starting somewhere, even if it's writing down 3 things in the morning or texting a friend, the 3 reasons why you're grateful when you're feeling shame or when you're feeling just some of those big negative emotions about the eating and where you're at. Even if you just text a friend and just say, "I'm feeling this way right now. I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
practice, showing up differently in this moment. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
gonna text you a few things of what I'm grateful for." Sometimes we'll do
Mm-hmm.
that back and forth. I'll do that with friends of just say, "I'm feeling some big feelings right now. Can I just practice some gratitude with you?" And it
Oh, I
ends up
love that.
it bonds the 2 people together, or maybe you have
Mm-hmm.
3 or group text, it helps bond each other together, it spreads joy, and it helps train your brain to remember the good stuff on the bad days too.
Yeah, yeah. And I love it because it wasn't like some big dramatic thing.
Right,
Just, hey, I'm having some emotions and I'm going to practice some gratitude
right.
with you. And which also would probably help the other person as well. And I love how you emphasize the dichotomy between compassion and shame so much because
Mhm.
compassion leads to growth, shame leads to being stuck and moving backwards. It's never going to get us to where we want to be. So it's a useless emotion for progress, right? And compassion opens up the door for all kinds of opportunities for growth, which is why we focus on that so much. You've got to have compassion, which why we have this support group at Real Food Recovery. We have a support group because people that are trying to recover, you need support. And oftentimes it's a mirror that comes back to you of
Mm,
a loving place that sometimes it's difficult for you to get there. But if you have someone saying, look, man, you're living in a world that's designed to set people up to have these struggles,
sure.
it's very nice to help them move out of that place of shame when they're having an off moment. So I love that conversation. And we talked about this a little bit, but I want to get a stronger opinion from you on what would you tell someone who feels like they need to, I'm doing air quotes, fix themselves before they're allowed to enjoy life again.
Hmm, man, I would say it's a process and we're never going to be at the place of perfection, or we're always being redeemed, being
Mhm.
restored. And if you're trying to fix yourself before you're able to really enjoy life, it concerns me that you would miss some golden moments that are meant to be there along the journey.
Mhm.
And the reality is, the sooner that you start playing again, the sooner you start resting, the sooner you start practicing appreciation and gratitude and looking for belonging and in community, the sooner you're going to be able to experience that life that you're wanting. And it's going
Yeah.
to help you achieve your goals
Mhm.
in recovery and holistic health and weight loss and all that. So I would say don't have that closed mindset, but have a growth mindset. Don't limit yourself to experiencing the joy life offers right now, just because you're trying to reach a certain standard, even though your desires are valid. But there's different ways to go about it than keeping yourself stuck until you achieve that certain result.
Yeah, I agree so much. And we work with people a lot on their belief system, which helps in identity shift,
Mhm.
which then helps with habit change. And so all of that impacts what that self-talk.
Yeah.
We work a lot on that self-talk and that drives the next right move, right? So I'm going to leave you with one final question since the audience that we have mostly are people struggling with the effects of ultra processed food and striving for recovery. If joy had a voice, what might it be saying to someone in recovery right now?
Paige, I loved that question so much. And one of the first things that had come to mind was, if joy had a voice, that it would sound like this: Come, spend time with me. With
I love
me, my
that.
burden is light.
I love that.
With me, my burden is light. And I want to walk with you and teach you how to experience more of me.
Oh, I got a little lump in my throat. That was beautiful. That was a perfect way to end. Do you want to finish by telling people more about where to find out more about you if they're seeking more joy in their life?
Love to. I'd be honored. Yeah, you can definitely reach out to me over my website, joymakersproject.com. I'm also on social media, mainly on Instagram and Facebook. And so if
Mhm.
you'd like to follow, that would be amazing. I'd love to connect. And you can look, I have a lot of different resources on my website to help just, yeah, propel people along on their journeys.
Yeah.
But I'd always love an email or phone call, anything. I just want to be open and available for people as much as possible. Um, yeah, I'm just so glad and so thankful for this time, Paige.
Yeah. And I have to tell you, I have to put a plug in for her Instagram that I follow Kaylee on Instagram. And if you want a guaranteed smile, follow her on Instagram because you will find yourself smiling without even realize that it's happening. So she does bring out the light in other people. So I can't thank you enough for being here. You've added an extra sparkle to my day. So I
Oh,
appreciate you so much. And we just want to tell everybody thank you for listening. And if you want to find out more about us, you can find us at realfoodrecovery4u.com. That's the number 4 and the letter U. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.